I just realized that I have been talking with the mic muted. Oh, jeez. Um, okay, what did I just say? Yeah, just streaming again. Just thought it would be fun to do so. So, yeah, here we have a little patch that uses the Weaver thing we were working on last time that can sort of combine two sequences in interesting ways, hopefully. And here are two MIDI sequencers, and they're both kind of playing sequences that I manually typed in with my computer keyboard. So we can listen to them a bit now. So one of them sounds like this. I'm gonna have to figure out a better way to do this, but yeah, one of them sounds like that, and the other one sounds like this. And then I can kind of blend between them. So we'll see that now. Still kind of trying to figure out if that's interesting, if it's going to be a fun thing to play with. But I had an idea for what to do today, so let me just talk about it a little bit. So right now, this thing has this maybe parameter, which my mic is on right, yeah, which has it controls the probability that a note is going to get emitted. So like maybe we do get some note data from the sequences. So at 1, this means that if we get an input, it's definitely going to go to the output, assuming it kind of meets the balance criteria and stuff. At 0, we're not going to be passing anything out. And then at like 0.5, then it's a 50% chance that a note may get emitted or not. So this kind of comes at the very end, but it's random, which is good and bad. It's good because I usually like to set it kind of high, so it's like mostly always the same thing. But sometimes a note just doesn't happen, and to me it gives it a kind of human feel, kind of like playing guitar. I'm a pretty bad guitar player, so even when I'm trying to play the same riff, over and over, chances are every time it's going to be a little different because I'm going to miss a note or drop a note or something like that. So I find that a maybe around like 0.9 or something like that kind of gives that effect, and I like that sound. But what's kind of bad about it is that it's it is a bit random. So like sometimes you want to lower the density of the notes that are coming out, but if you go too low with this, then it just gets very like unpredictable, and it doesn't feel like the same sequence anymore because so many notes are getting dropped. So the other thing I like to do a lot, and I did it here, I use this all the time, I call it the density slider on this generative sequencer I made, but I want to add a similar density slider to Weaver, And the idea there is that same thing where at the very lowest value, then all the notes are going to, none of the notes are going to come through. At the very highest value, all the notes are going to come through. And we have kind of a gradient in between. But the difference is that with the density, it's the same every time, every repeat of the loop, it's the same values that do or don't get dropped. So like at 0.5, we'll be hearing roughly half the notes on the, if this were the density slider, we would be hearing half the notes, but it would always be the same half the notes. And then, so it has kind of a stability, and if you were to raise it from 0.5 up to 1, then notes, like going from 0.5 to 0.6, the 0.6 is going to be like a superset of all the notes that were in the 0.5. So you can kind of, it's not like you're going to have some of the 0.5 notes get dropped when you go up to the 60%. I'm not sure if I'm being clear, but anyway, that's, maybe it will be more clear when I can demonstrate it once we implement this. So that's the goal for the next like 15 minutes maybe. Let's see if we can do it. It's actually not that complicated, I think. So what we're going to do is make a new table. I'm just going to call it densities, and we'll just populate it the same way as we do the biases table. And for now, I'm just going to connect it to the reroll button that we have right here, but maybe, yeah, that's fine. Maybe we'll want its own control later, but so, oops. Every time we hit the reroll, then, so you can look and see the densities table is empty right now. But if we re-roll, then we look at it, then it's filled with all this random stuff between 0 and 1. So this, we can make it look more, yeah, between 0 and 1. Cool, so we've got this densities table. Now we're gonna need, let's jump back to the parameters really fast. We'll add a new parameter. Density, it can go from 0 to 1, and it will start at 1. Trying to like, always when I try to go faster, I wind up making all kinds of mistakes. Okay, let's say 120. I don't know how tall this thing is. It's not too far off. 118, 116, yep. Okay, 116, so we need to update this one as well. And when we get the density parameter, this is getting a bit much, so let's move it down to here. Okay, so yeah, to do add density, that's what we're doing now. Okay, so it should be between 0 and 1, and then we'll just send it out. And so we'll need to read it somewhere. So basically, we'll do it kind of the same way we do the biases. I forget how where do I read those? Here. Oh yeah, that's for turning on and off. Okay, I'll just add it down here to the very bottom. Whoa, this is kind of crazy. Why did I do it that way? so here's the maybe. And then after the maybe, so the density, if we receive, so first we need to actually do something with the density. And we're going to need, when we get a value we want to output, before we actually send it out, spigot, we may not send it out. So we have to check the value of the density. Okay, so we'll cache the density in a float, and then what we're going to want to do is compare it to, so if we're going to need to read the table. How do I read a table again? It's like tab read something, tab read. Yep. Just this, the beat, okay. I'll just do it here as well. We'll read the densities, and then let's just send it as current beat density. So if the density slider is greater than the current, greater than or equal to the current beat density, then we want to emit it, or we want to open the spigot and let it come through. So oh wait, okay, so if it, maybe we don't even, yeah, if it's, so if the slider is all the way up at 1, then this is always going to return 1, I think. So let's say this is that, then we get like a 0 should be 0, 1 should be 1. If this thing's at 1, then 0 should be 0, 1 should still be 1. And then, yeah, I think that's gonna work. Okay, so before sending the note value through, first we're going to compare the particular about the spacing. Okay. We're going to compare the density slider to the current beat's density value, and if the slider's higher, then we'll open the spigot and let the note through. And that's going to repeat because we're reading the table based on the inlet, or the beat. So that's going to be, we're just reading like, oops, the same kind of chunk at the start of the table over and over every time the loop repeats. And then we can, yeah, let's just see if this works. Let's stop blabbing. Okay, so I'm going to turn my mic off. Okay. Uh, yeah, that was kind of annoying, but I think it works. So I'm gonna have to go pretty soon, but the reason this density seemed interesting to me was that in the interpolate mode, let me, yes, so in the interpolate mode, make this a bit longer to demonstrate, but it we get all of the notes, even if the balance is at one side or the other, we get all of the notes from both sequences. And just at one or the other extreme, then that means that on beats where they both provide a value, we only take the one at whichever extreme, and then in between we get like a interpolated value in between the two, which is kind of cool, but it winds up being always very busy because you're getting just so many notes from both sequences. So that was why I wanted to bring in this density, so we could play with this balance while having it not be so chaotic. So let me try that a little bit. So this first weaver is blending between my two sequences I typed in, which are not amazing, but they're there. And then this other one is then that's feeding into this weaver, which is giving us between the, I wonder if I should do this actually. And this second weaver is blending between the output of the first weaver and this generative sequence. So, okay, I will be quiet again and then jam for maybe 5 minutes, and then I've got to go. Okay, so goodbye. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.